There was a time at Northwestern when visual arts kind of almost went away, and because of the Wisdom Family Foundation, they supported financially the return of visual arts. And you can have the money, but if you don't have the people, the right people in place, it doesn't matter really how much money you have. And we do have the right people in place, and it gives me pleasure to introduce our assistant professor of Visual Arts and the director of Visual Arts program at Northwestern. Kyle is in his third year in that role, and he's done a magnificent job, and it's so much fun. He's situated in Jesse Dunn, and Jesse Dunn is that building that you have to walk up to go down, and you have to go down to walk up, and there have been alumni who have told us that they've been lost in that building before. In fact, I think there might be a couple of professors that we still don't know where they're at because they're still lost. But I am glad to introduce to you, Kyle has got a fantastic program going on that benefits the patrons of Alva, in addition to our students at Northwestern who are in the visual arts program. And I'm going to turn it over to Kyle Larson, and he will introduce to you Marianna. Did I mess that up?
No, it's okay.
I would tell you her last name, but I will mess that up, I'm sure. So with that, I'm going to give you to Kyle Larson.
So I'm going to start off. I put way too many slides in my presentation, but I'm going to move through them fast because I want to share with you all the Artist in Residency program, which was started by my predecessor, Jave Yoshimoto, in 2014. And I benefited from the program. That's how I learned about Alva. I did the residency in 2014, stayed here for a month and a half and really liked it, and hey, I came back. This is a little plug for our Facebook page. I post events, pictures of classes with student artwork and what the residents are doing. So I just recommend follow us on Facebook, NWOSU Visual Arts. The Artist in Residence program, it's essential. I'm the only visual arts professor, at least that teaches studio. We have a great art appreciation professor, Ken Kelsey, which we're fortunate to have. But I teach studio courses, and I don't like being the only voice. I like to bring other people in and give students other perspectives. So we have the Artist in Residence program that helps provide that. And the residents have a studio in Jesse Dunn. They have 24-hour access to that studio. We have housing on campus for the residents. And the residents hold workshops, they do lectures, they help out with visual arts classes, they help critique. Marianna just helped with a critique yesterday for the intermediate painting class. So they're very active, and they're active in the community as well. They display their artwork at the Graceful Arts Center and the Runnymede First Friday art walks. So I always, invite you all to come downtown. Every first Friday of the month, we have some sort of exhibition, whether it's a student exhibition or the artist in resident. So that's a little bit of the background of the artist in residence program. And then I'm just going to give you kind of a brief overview of the residents we've had so far this academic year. So way back in September, we had Robert Camacho, who is a Connecticut-based painter. He studied linguistics in undergrad at Emerson College in Boston and went to Boston University, graduating in 2013 with his MFA in painting. Rob, you can see a self-portrait there. This was his flyer for his artist talk. He gave an artist lecture at the Graceful Arts Center. There he is at the Runnymede displaying some of his works. He incorporated some of the students into his works. He's interested in icons, medieval icons. So he turned some of the students into icons. You might recognize some of them. I know Mark, Ashley, that's Ashley. Yeah. And then there's Rob again. Rob was fantastic. And then in October we had Laura DeAngelis. She's an artist coming from Boulder Creek, California. She graduated with her MA at Sacramento State University in 2012. And she's originally from Nevada. You can see she's a photographer, but she's a very multifaceted artist. She doesn't just do photography, she does installations with her photography. And when she was in Alva, she actually took great inspiration from the Natural History Museum, some of the specimen there. And we're very lucky, the museum lets us borrow specimen to take into our studios, and she photographed a lot of the birds from Woods County here. And I'll show you, well, this is something different. She wove different pictures of birds together, and it kind of gives it a mysterious look. Things kind of fade away, they lose their identity. This was displayed at the Runnymede. And then in addition to that, she did a project with the students where the students painted their own self-portraits on plexiglass and left areas bare. And then she photographed them in back of their own paintings. So the paintings, their self-portraits, became masks that they kind of wore. So you can see there, again, Ashley is behind her self-portrait. There's Bailey hiding behind his. And it's funny, the areas where they're kind of peeking through. It's peeking through the ear. There's Amanda. Yeah. Very psychological. This was the big piece in the Runnymede on that first Friday. And then we displayed the portraits. We actually suspended them from the ceiling so that when you were looking at them, if you looked at them straight on, you would see the portraits through each other, so that all the faces kind of combined in weird ways. It was really exciting. And in addition to that, Laura was great about working with the students. We did a kind of a mural-sized drawing exercise, and Laura participated. You can see, that was just a 3-hour session. That the students got to know her. She worked alongside them. It was a lot of fun. And then, this is the flyer for her recent show. She went back to California and had a show of the work she made here in Alva, but also the stuff she made afterwards, still influenced by Woods County and the specimen in the museum. So the show is titled Collected in Woods County. So, these residents come here, but then they spread the word about Alva, and, it expands. This just came down, actually. Opening reception was February. And then in November we had Christine Aria. She's a San Francisco-based painter, mostly does watercolor. She's known for her large-scale self-portraits. This is a life-sized, just on a large sheet of paper. She did a lot while she was here. And again, very influenced by the surrounding area. She was interested in the oil industry and how that connects with Alva and Oklahoma. She's also living in Tulsa right now. Her partner is in the Tulsa Artist Fellowship, and he has a studio there. So she's aware of Oklahoma. She's been living here for about a year and a half now. She also showed at the Runnymede. She had an installation in Jesse Dunn. I don't know if you guys have ever been up there, and this is, Jesse Dunn is hard to navigate, but we're talking the top floor of Jesse Dunn, the 4th floor, which no one knows about, which is kind of empty, but she did an installation in that space. You can see the inspiration for one of those. There she is with Ken. And that's the stairwell going up. She had a video projection. There it is. And she also gave a watercolor workshop where we invited community members and students. You can see it was a really good turnout. It was holiday themed, so we put a bunch of Christmas ornaments and decorations in the middle of the room, and people painted from those. It was a really fun night. And the Art Society really helped us out organizing that too. In January, we had Stephanie Ramirez. She's a Salvadorian American artist from Maryland, and she recently got her MFA from UT Austin last year. So another fantastic artist we were really lucky to have. You can see some examples of her photography there. This was a flyer that we put up for her works at the Graceful Arts Center, and then she did an installation in her studio space. So she transformed her studio space, painted the walls, and all these photographs she installed that she took here in the surrounding areas. You see there she's talking to some folks who visit. There's some students. She gave some artist lectures and talks in the studio. And then we come to Molten Capital. So Molten Capital is a residency in Santiago, Chile, which I participated in this summer in July. So I flew there and I got to work in a historic gallery called the Pech. And I worked with two Chilean artists. It was Mauricio Cortez and Camilo Inostroza. And I really got to know them well. We worked alongside each other. They were fantastic printmakers and draftsmen, but they wanted to learn a little about painting, so I showed them a few things or two, and they taught me a lot as well. And we put together a group show, and this is us working in the studio at a Pech. There's Camilo painting. And they had never painted large scale before, so this was all new to them. Although, I mean, they were already fantastic artists. So there's my little portion that I was working on. And then the show was installed. There's me giving an artist talk. But anyway, as a part of that residency, in return, Molten Capital offered to fly a Chilean artist here to Alva, Oklahoma to work at Northwestern. They paid for Marianna's transportation, her flights, and so that's why we're so lucky to have her here. So now I'll briefly just introduce Marianna and let her talk. Marianna Hoffmeister is from Santiago, Chile. She graduated from Pontificia. I can't do it. That place, Universidad Católica, in 2014. And Marianna has exhibited her work extensively in Santiago and recently completed a residency in Dublin, Ireland. So anyway, I'm going to let Marianna speak, and thank you guys. If you guys have any questions, let me know.
First of all, thank you for having me here. Thank you, Carl, for the introduction. It's been a very beautiful experience. Everyone here now has been very welcoming to me and very nice, so I feel like I'm home, and seriously, very nice. And the thing is that, well, first of all, I want to show you some pictures of my work, my recent work, and some pictures of what I've been doing here. The thing is, I've been here only for like 1 week and a half, so I can show you so much. I've just just started with the work, but I hope that at the end of the lesson you can see all my work and the results of it. So my work is mostly graphic based. I love to work with drawing, printmaking, engraving, artist book. Everything has to do with the graphic world, so to say. I tried painting, but painting is not my discipline, so I just stay with drawing. And I also like to work with installation and sometimes video. And actually something that I want to try here, maybe to work with video. But even though I think my work is always has like this graphic identity. So yeah, I'm interested in researching on different representational models. This is, for example, maps, atlas, dictionaries, scientific illustrations, archival material, systems that are whose purpose is domesticating knowledge and provide order to the world. That's the thing that, for me, is the most interesting thing about art, actually. Parentheses. My English is sometimes not so good, so if I say something strange or mispronounce something, please tell me.
Oh, we've had Alan here for years.
Yeah, please. Sometimes my words fail. I forgot words. Or Kyle will translate for me if I can say something. Yeah, and I want to show you a few pictures. Okay, the work I'm going to show you, it's about my last residencies. I've participated in 3 residencies. The first one was in Santiago, Chile, in a gallery. The second one was in Dublin, Ireland, and the third one is here in Alba. So what interests me the most is to somehow present like a graphic representation of certain territories. I try to look for the graphic, so to say, landmarks that identify a certain territory. And well, this work was based in Santiago. I work in a gallery, and the gallery is located in a very just multicultural area from Santiago, and I just took certain landmarks, graphic landmarks, so to say, like in this case it was fast food posters. Actually, it's a very mundane thing, but actually they're very just iconic from that area. So I just started to create like a certain like a new interpretation. Can you say interpretation? Sorry, interpretation of this fast food poster. Actually I had a studio back there in this residency, so I created an artist book from the view I had from this studio. Every day I just would stare at this view. It was a very mundane view. It was just like it was actually this. That's the view from my studio there. And it was only like a group of storage houses, industries. But at some point, going every day there, that image turned to be out something very beautiful, like a landscape for me. And I tried to present in this book of artists the structure of this landscape that was like in a certain way unraveling for me. And I not only work with graphite. I also like to work with embossing, and which only it's like I don't know how to explain it in English, but it's like when you create like a volume on paper, only with using the printmaker. So it's like a very unstable and very delicate image. Actually, I don't know if you can, and you can see the shape, the pattern. And actually that pattern belongs to like a group of furniture. Because actually in that area, there's a lot of storage houses that store furniture, chairs, tables, drawers. Actually they stack them together. Like you see like piles of chairs. And just took I took photographic register of that chairs, of that stacks and piles of furniture, and create like very like code from I create like sort of an alphabet for that images. So actually everything this could be just like the leg of a chair. This could be the handle of a drawer. I tried to create like a graphic alphabet for that territory, so to say. And okay, this is a huge jump. This is actually the project I've been working for the residency program in Ireland, and actually I'm still working on this project because it's a very long-term project, and it's not going to end in an exhibition, but it will be a publication, like a collaborative publication with other artists from around the world. Actually, I'm only from South America, which is very interesting. So I really wanted to give like an insight from my South American perspective. I did something very similar. I tried to create like a certain graphic survey of the things I observed in Ireland. Something very interesting happened there. For some reason, Ireland and Chile were very similar countries, even though you might think that they're very different. They were very similar in very similar aspects. So I tried to choose different visual landmarks, and I chose, for example, some old ancient Chilean maps, some ancient Irish maps, and tried to create like very absurd comparisons, like parallelisms. How do you say that? Sorry, my pronunciation.
Yeah.
Parallelism between these cool, like these iconographic codes from Chile and Ireland. And actually what happened is that even though this kind of graphic and iconographical parallelism were very absurd, at the end it was like a starting point for real conversations about real affinities, political struggles, very like real affinities between Chile and Ireland. There have been, for example, countries that were actual. They suffered colonialism. They suffered same political struggles, and from this kind of imagery, that those real like conversation appeared, and that was very interesting. And this is only a draft, because I told you it was going to be a publication. This is the draft for the publication, and actually I'm still working on this, and maybe in June or July it will be ready. But this is just a draft, but this is how it's going to look like, I suppose, I guess, because maybe the designer decides other things, but it's going to look. And I want to show you what I've been doing here, even though it's not so much, because as I told you, I've been here only for a week and a half, so not so much. But at the same time, it feels like I've been here a long time, because I've been experienced many things, so many experiences. So there are two things that I'm going to do here. The first one is to produce artwork, and the other one is the workshops. And for this residency, I designed a 4-session workshop that has to do with contemporary drawing. And I wanted to make something more experimental, so to say, for the students, because they are, I know, I studied art, so I know that the first years you have these very traditional drawing lessons that has to do with optical migration, just to look at a model, to try to recreate it on the surface. And actually this has to do, but on the other hand, you can also enhance, or so to say, to complement that kind of work with something that's more experimental, so to say. And here are some pictures. Yeah, they're a little bit blurry because I took them with my phone. But it's our 2-hour session. In the first part of the sessions, I try to introduce to the students some notions about contemporary drawing, and some contemporary authors, artists talking about drawing, and at the end, a drawing exercise. And actually, this is the first. On Monday we had the second session, so I can just show you so much results, but I can show you the process of these workshops, and it was very interesting. This first exercise, the students had to make each 30 drawings. In total, it were like 300 drawings in that a day, only in 30 seconds. Yeah, I know. It's very hard, but actually, it's a very. I have like a list of sentences, and I read one sentence, and I have to make a drawing of that sentence, a thought about it, or what I feel about it, or stuff like that, in just 30 seconds. And even though that seems like just a few seconds, actually it gives like a very refreshing and nourishing view of yourself, because you have to make a very fast decision, and sometimes you may think that's a very weird doodle or a very bad sketch, but at the end we have beautiful results. With just one doodle can say a lot of our personal decisions on how we are graphically, I don't know how to say that, how we express graphically. And at the beginning it was a very tough exercise. They were very exhausted actually, because every 30 seconds I changed to other sentence. They had to change paper, change the pencil, the pen, and use different art making tools. Well, yeah, here are like, I choose the best works and I display them. And it was a very beautiful experience because actually some of the students came to my studio and just look at the drawings, and they were very impressed, and they say, why I did that, or wow, it's fantastic, or they told me stories actually about the drawings, and they confess me things. I don't know them, they don't know me, but actually they confess me, tell me, no, this was my dream, I know why I dreamed this, or I draw this because it worries me, and you can tell those things, and I could tell those things because of the decisions they make, the line. Some drawings, they had very beautiful lines, very soft, others were very crooked lines that can tell that maybe they have some concerns or some, I don't know. Somehow this is an exercise to try, I don't know how to explain this better in English, sorry, but this exercise is important because it takes you out of a lot of preconceptions you have about drawing, about this kind of perfect drawing, you have this kind of talent, and the drawing is a very intimidating thing, and you quit drawing actually when you reach a certain age, and you should be that way. So this exercise is designed to try to feel free and just to express yourself or vent your emotions, your feelings, thoughts, anger, whatever there is. And yeah, and actually these drawings are still displayed. They're being in my studio, they're very beautiful. Okay, this is a picture from the second session. This session was about the line as a structural unity from drawing, and they had to make an anatomical model of the body using just lines, and try to overlap different sort of lines, and yeah, to create a beautiful drawing.
Marianna, we're about to run out of time, but I think some people want to ask some questions before you get out of here. Would you be willing to do that real quick?
Yeah.
Address some questions?
Yeah, actually I finished, so it's fine.
No, that's fine.
I actually finished, so it's fine. Sorry if I took too long time. Yeah, it's fine. If you have
any questions?
Your English vocabulary is very broad. Where did you learn English?
Oh, the thing is, I've learned first at school, like the grammatic aspects, but the rest it's been by myself.
Wow, being it's not your first language, I guess you have quite a vocabulary. I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
I was noticing the same thing. She used words that I didn't know what they meant.
Sorry.
No, that's all good. That's very good. Very impressive.
Good.
Yeah, the thing is, I've learned by myself. I love to read, so I had the opportunity to read in English and to see, for example, TV shows in English and movies. And other thing that I don't know if it has to do, but for some reason in Chile, when you watch TV, most of the movies are not subbed. You say subbed?
Subtitle?
No, they have subtitles. They're not dubbed.
Oh,
They're
dubbed.
They're not dubbed. They have subtitles.
Okay.
So for some reason, I think I learned a lot from that. Okay. I might be reading subtitles, but at the same time I was listening to what they were saying. So yeah, it's a lot of varied things that I listen to music in English, so I know I try to translate the lyrics. And that's how
long will you be here?
Yeah.
How long I'm going to? I'll be here till 9th April. Yeah.
She also speaks German.
Yeah,
So
that's
if you
why
want this presentation in German, we'll do that next week.
Yeah, that's why I have the German name. Actually, I have German heritage.
What are the primary dialects in Peru?
Sorry?
Chile.
Chile.
Is
Dialect.
it German and what?
No, actually, the official language in Chile is Spanish.
Spanish.
Yeah. Then it will be some other language that belong to the native groups. There are 4 mostly. The second one, like the most important language for native groups, will be Mapudungun. The second one will be Aymara. Aymara belongs actually to Peru, Bolivia, northern Chile. The third one will be Rapa Nui from Eastern Iceland. Yeah, and some German is not official, but there's a very strong influence by German immigrants in the south of Chile. And actually, a lot of people speak German, and there are also German schools. I learned German at the German school and English at the German school, but it's not an official language. Spanish is the.
Between Peru or Chile and Ireland and the United States, which would be your one to retire in?
Sorry, the one.
If you could pick one of the 3 countries that you've worked in
Oh, okay.
to retire in, which one would it be?
Wow, that's a tough question.
We didn't promise you easy.
I don't know. Yeah, the thing is that.
Probably Paris.
That wasn't the choice.
Yeah, it's difficult to say because I've been here for just a few weeks, and even though I spent maybe a month in Ireland. Maybe it will be something between here, United States, and Ireland. Maybe I won't consider that in Chile.
Somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in between, in the middle. Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. Yeah, but maybe it wouldn't be Ireland in the sense. It wouldn't be Ireland in the sense that it's very similar to Chile. Actually, it's weird to say, but I was in Ireland. It was like I'm in south of Chile. It's like the same. The only difference was, of course, the language and some cultural things, of course. But the landscape was very familiar to me, and maybe I will love to retire in a place that's new for me. So I will be always learning new things. Actually, that is good.
Good
Were you
answer.
born and raised in Santiago? Or
Sorry?
were you born and raised
No.
there? No.
No, I've lived in Santiago. I've been living in Santiago for 8 years. I was born and raised in another city that's close to Santiago. Actually, it's 2 hours away from Santiago in a city called Viña del Mar. The direct translation of that name will be vineyard at the sea. Actually, that's the name of the city. The literal translation in English. It's a huge city. Actually, it's not a small city. It's not. But it's at the coast. Santiago is surrounded by mountains. Viña, it's absolutely at the coast. There's a different landscape, different feeling about it. But I decided to go to Santiago because it's the big city. It's the capital. It's not that in Viña I didn't have any opportunity, but I wanted to go to have other experiences actually. And that time the art school in Viña was a chaos. So I decided to go to Santiago to study. And I don't know if you have more questions.
Please.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I interrupt. Where are you going to go after this? What's next? So once you finish here, do you go for another residency? What do you do next?
Oh, good question. The thing I have to do first is that I have to return to Chile and have to present the results of this work to my university, because Molten Capital will be working with the art faculty, so I have to introduce my results and show them to the students. I have that responsibility. And I don't know. I don't know. I would love to apply to other residency program. I think I've been learning so much about residencies. I think of course I learned at art. I learned when I was studying art college, of course, but the most beautiful, fruitful experiences I received have been from the residencies. Because I've learned so much and I've been able to teach to other people, and I think it's the most fruitful thing you can do. And but the thing is that I'll start with the MFA. You say that? Because I want to continue with my studies, so that will be my next step.
Great.
Probably Mark over there would like you to join the Northwestern Band.
It will be very interesting. And so